Ladies and gentlemen, can you believe it? It has arrived, the RX 7900 XTX and the XT. The names are getting a little bit confusing, but don't worry, because we're going to be walking you through absolutely everything you need to know. We're going to be comparing it to the RTX 4090, 4080. We're going to be putting inside a case, and we're maybe going to be breaking a few rules by opening this box as well. It looks very ominous, and I genuinely don't know if I can show you. So stay tuned to watch me potentially get into quite a lot of trouble after a short word from this video's sponsor.
Corsair's K100 Air is here, and it is marvellous. This ultra-thin mechanical keyboard is perfect for those wanting shorter travel, whilst maintaining full gaming prowess. Packing up to 8000 Hz of polling rate, Cherry MX ultra low profile switches, and gorgeous RGB lighting, what more could you ask for? Get yours today with the link down below.
Let's waste absolutely no time at all and actually crack one of these boxes open. So these two are going to be slightly different. We'll start with the XT, remembering that this has a RRP of $899 and requires a pair of scissors. Whereas the bigger boy is going to cost you closer to $1,000 at $999. It's a little bit stiff, it requires a bit of wiggling, but I think we do have the XT in front of us, and oh my god, that is tiny. Now, I'd like to be clear, this is relatively tiny compared to something like the RTX 4080 and 4090. I'm losing my words, I'm just so astounded. Maybe I'm just used to this now. But remember when AMD came out on stage and was saying about how their cards were smaller and this was an advantage? Look at the difference! Look at it, that is absolutely insane. And actually, in terms of sort of width, I guess, of the card, slot count, this is still 2.5 slots, so it's not going to fit in every single ITX chassis out there. But compared to, well, pretty much any high-end Nvidia card from the last few years, this is actually a fair bit smaller. I mean, for reference, here is a 2080 Ti. This is probably in the same sort of realms as this, except actually the AMD card is a little bit bigger because it's a bit thicker. It really is just that that monstrosity is so huge. I don't think you get absolutely anything else in the box other than a welcome to the red team, because of course no adapters or anything necessary here. And as such, when you look on the front, you'll find we have two 8-pin power connections. That is actually so refreshing. It's so nice to see, because for the last, well, couple of months, we've had to make do with this. And I do get it. I understand why it exists. Obviously, there's been the whole hoo-ha about bending the cables, crimped versus soldered, all of this stuff. But ultimately, this is fine when used properly. It's just, it's a bit of extra fuss, and you are going to have to buy a separate cable for your card to actually look nice in your case. Whereas chances are you've probably already got a nice little setup. Maybe you've got custom cables already, and this is going to slot right in, and it's going to look fabulous. I mean, I do like the design. They've gone away from the sort of metallic silver of the last generation. I don't really think it's going to stand out massively, but personally I think a lot of people are going to like that. And don't forget, you can go for certain other cards if you want something a little bit more out there. I mean, I'm going to show you the last gen. Here is the 6800 that I actually water-cooled, and Gareth thought it'd be funny to write 6800 screws that Marcus was too lazy to put back in. Very helpful. And then you can see the previous generation. So actually, this is the 6800, not the XT. I think they're pretty much the same size, really. It's just that this is 2.5 slots, whereas this was pretty much bang on 2. Drilling down a little bit deeper into some of the details of this though, you should first be aware of the connectivity, because we do have completely up-to-date I/O here. Even compared to the RTX 4090, it's a massive difference. That is limited with DisplayPort 1.4, whereas here you do have DisplayPort 2.1. There are two full-size ports, and then you've got this USB Type-C that also doubles as DisplayPort 2.1, which is quite nice, although you are going to need an adapter if you've got 3 displays and you want to power them with DisplayPort. But then you do also have HDMI 2.1 for hooking up to high-end monitor, TV, and then you can do 4K 120 Hz. Whereas with the DisplayPort 2.1, you can go way beyond 4K 120 into the realms of, I think it's like 4K 300 and something Hertz. Not really sure this would be able to drive it, but nice to have. In terms of graphics memory size, this uses 20 gigabytes of GDDR6, whereas this steps it up to 24, but it should be noted that both of these are actually a little bit out of date compared to the 4080 and 4090. That with the 4080, it does have slightly less, it's only got 16, but then this is running at GDDR6X speed, so probably not going to make any real difference to anyone. This is something we'll be testing in the benchmarks, but it is definitely something to note. I think we should press on though to the slightly bigger boy. That would have been bad. And I am expecting this to look very similar, but probably a little bit more chunky. In terms of power requirements, by the way, this has a minimum of 800 watts recommended power supply, whereas this is 750. So that's the same as the 4080, whereas this is 50 less than the RTX 4090. I mean, to be fair, that is pretty much everything that I described. I mean, I don't know, maybe I expected it to be a little bit more out there compared to its lower spec cousin, but pretty much the same sort of design language. I think it's very difficult to notice a difference just by looking at it. It's just ever so slightly longer and I think slightly taller. Ever so slightly, look. A little bit more bulge. So again, if you're going for ITX, you're going to have to bear this in mind. But for all intents and purposes, I think most ATX cases are going to be fine with either. Certainly in terms of length and things anyway, these are a lot less restrictive than something that is far, far bigger than the 4090. I mean, to be fair, actually, that's not as short as I thought it was going to be. I don't know, that is a fair bit smaller, actually. I'm talking to myself, I'm going mad. Let's get them all stacked up so we can do a proper comparison, though. This is an RTX 3080 Ti, by the way. This is the one I personally use in my gaming rig, which is this one here, and you'll see why in just a second. But there you go, look. All of the cards. This one stands out. I do think the NVIDIA one looks better, and I know we're going to have to test thermals later, but in theory, this design might work better for thermals. But until we've actually run the numbers and heard the cards, it's going to be very hard to tell. I think these are all definitely a lot more user-friendly. I mean, bearing in mind that this is smaller than the 3080 Ti, I think that's telling you a lot, actually. So let's just hope that the thermal performance is actually up to snuff. I mean, I'm looking at these, really trying to work out the differences, and they are subtle, but I can see them. I think this has slightly bigger fans. I think that's the main difference in terms of thermals. As I say, it's just a bit more chunky, it's got a bit more going on, and then you do have different RGB, I think a little bit more advanced there. I'm struggling to think why you'd want to go for the based version when it's only $100 difference. I feel like actually this should probably be priced slightly less than it is, which almost sounds a bit weird, bear in mind both of these are severely undercutting NVIDIA, and the rumored performance of these are going to be sort of 4080 level, maybe slightly less, slightly more, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be very interesting to see what NVIDIA does, but I imagine price drops are probably on their way. But then at that point, does that mean that these are going to stay? Are these going to change? Who knows? Watch this space. But the question is this going to fit in there? Can I have it in my rig? Because this is no dice. Here we go. Yes, I think we're good. I think we're good. That's pretty easy, actually. You see the difference? You see why AMD were making fuss about this? ITX rigs, no problem for the XT. That fits in there marvelously. Swapping over to our much bigger rig though, I really wanted to show you the difference versus a 4080. This is a 4080, it does not need to be this big, versus the 7900 XT. That is laughable. The performance of these is going to be somewhat similar, or at least, I don't know, I haven't tested it. Don't tell me off, AMD. And again, you've got the horrible adapter. I mean, it's an attractive card, don't get me wrong, but the story pretty much tells itself, doesn't it? And I guess my worry is, are they going to use the same coolers with the 4080s with these much smaller designs? Because putting this on there is just such a massive waste. You're going to be the person paying for it. You're going to be the person paying for it in cost and physical space. And if you're not going to need any extra thermal headroom or anything, what on earth is the point? Let's place this down for a second. Let's drop this into our rig. Normal computer. Remember these? That actually looks really good, doesn't it? Jet black. Need some red cables in there. All naughty. Let's do the thing that could get me banned forever and open the secret box. It comes with latches, which already makes me very happy. Remember tactile stuff? I do. I think Customs has already had a look at this, although it looks pretty good to me. I take it back. I take it back. This is the largest card I have in the studio, by the way, and this is how it stacks up versus the XT. Massive difference, quite literally. But anyway, that is your fresh look at the 7900 and the 7900 XTX, or the XT and the XTX. Can you tell which is which? I just about can. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Are you in the market for a GPU? Are you going to go AMD for the first time in a while? Have you been Team Red for ages? And what do you make of the cards? I'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to know when I'll be talking about these properly, I think the only answer I can give you is soon, like very soon. So if If you're not already, get subscribed to PC Centric so you don't miss it. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this video. If you want to see a full build guide with an RTX 4080 or 4090, you can find my videos in the top right corner of your screen, alongside the description down below with current pricing on everything that was in this rig.
And while you're there, why not check out Corsair's K100 Air Wireless? Ideal for both work and play, the K100 Air nets you up to 200 hours of battery life, slipstream or Bluetooth connectivity, and Cherry's ultra-low profile key switches. With full per-key RGB lighting, a truly wireless design, and complete media control functions, this really is the keyboard of your dreams. Learn more today with the link down below.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.